this one here I'm going to show a couple of different possibilities, but I'm not going to do as many as I did previously. So you have this graph here. I look at the period. I see it's 3 units to go from lowest point to lowest point in this case. The baseline I see is at -2. Again, I find my lowest point, which is at -4. My highest y value is 0, and I average that. That's the easiest way to find a baseline. And of course, that average absolute value, more or less, well, not the average, but like the distance from that to a highest or lowest point is the amplitude. So the amplitude here is 2. So again, when I look at now knowing these, that means that the period is 3. That means that B had to be 2 pi over 3 to get that as a period. The baseline, or D, is going to be at -2. A, again, is going to be positive or -2, depending on what I choose to be my phase shift. So again, I look to see, well, can I get away with having no phase shift? Well, you notice that the graph's baseline, the graph does not start on its baseline of the y-axis. I mean, here's where it crosses the y-axis, right about here. It's not at the highest point, it's not at the lowest point, and it certainly is not at the baseline. So I have to choose a starting point for this. So one possible starting point, you notice I'm choosing this point right here. Now again, I have to be aware of the scaling of the graph at times too. I'm moving 4 units, or 4 lines to get to 1. So each one of these is moving by quarters. So if I see this, this is going to be a -7/4. Or you could say a -1.75, whichever way you want to look at it. Usually fractions work a lot better because now I can calculate, what C is, because C, -C over 2 pi over 3 should equal -7 pi over 4. And if I solve this equation, I get that C equals 7 pi over 6. Now, since I'm starting at a highest point, an extreme point, I'm going to be using cosine. And since I am starting at the highest point, it's behaving like a cosine function, so there's no reversal, so A would be a +2. So the result of this, just plugging the numbers in now, is that y equals 2 times the cosine of 2 pi over 3x plus 7 pi over 6 minus 2 would be one equation that gave me this graph. But I could have chosen another point. And another point I'm choosing might be hard to see because it's also a greenish color, is right here. I have it starting right here, which is happening at a phase shift of 2. So again, that's gonna change my C value because I'm gonna have to recalculate it. So -C over 2 pi over 3 is going to be 2 now, which means that C is going to be a -4 pi over 3 for this. If I'm starting at this baseline, I'm going to be using a sine function this time. And since the graph, as I move from left to right, starts moving down, whereas a typical sine function starts by moving up, I do have a reversal. So when I write the equation, I'm going to have y equals -2 times the sine of 2 pi over 3x minus 4 pi over 3 minus 2. There are many others. I'm not going to go through all of them. So it really depends on what you choose to be, quote unquote, your starting point.